If you didn't see the news, Destiny 2 made a very big announcement recently. For almost 12 years, we've had the joy and honor to explore the Destiny universe with you all. Through all the ups and downs, surprises and triumphs, building Destiny alongside our players has been a monumental privilege. While our love for Destiny 2 has not changed, it has become clear that after the final shape, we have reached the time for our shared worlds and Destiny to live beyond Destiny 2. As our focus turns towards a new beginning for Bungie, we will begin work incubating our next games. To that end, on June 9th, 2026, we will release the final live service content update for Destiny 2 to begin that new journey as a studio. Though active development may be concluding, we will ensure that Destiny 2 remains playable, just as the original Destiny is today. Many changes in this final update will aim to ensure that Destiny 2 is a welcoming place for players to return to. We're proud of Destiny 2, the places it took us, and the legacy it has created. Because of you all, our universe is vast, built on years of shared stories, adventures, and victories. From the Cosmodrome to the Pale Heart to the Lawless Frontier, we have forged lifelong memories and friendships with you all. We are incredibly grateful to everyone who made that journey with us. From the deepest part of our hearts, thank you, and we'll see you in the stars. So this made some waves. This came completely out of the blue. Nobody was expecting this right now, of all times. There was a pretty consistent sentiment with the community that the game was going to continue on for about another year before we were going to see anything like this start. Because that seemed to be the content map that they had laid out. They were already working on stuff for kind of that timeline. So we were kind of expecting that maybe kind of early 2027, we were probably going to see something like this happen. So when this was announced, how many days ago? May 21st. Yeah, 3 days ago. Good Lord. When this was announced, this kind of caught everybody off guard, to say the least. Myself included. While I was in Atlanta, had just spent, hours. Jess and I, the first day that I was there with Jess, we probably spent a good 2 hours just talking about and reflecting on our previous day one raid experiences, what we did right, what we did wrong, where we need to improve, reflecting on strengths and weaknesses of the different people in our groups, what roles to have people in. We really were going nitty gritty for, 2 hours is probably undershotting it. We talked a lot about it especially the first 2 days, we talked a lot about it. So when this happened, it was wild. I got home and then the next day it was, by the way, the game's getting essentially no new updates. It's not getting any more updates after June 9th, which is insane. It's insane. Destiny 2 came out in 2017, I believe. And in that time, it's been an almost 10-year journey from when that started to where we are now. I did not play Destiny 2 when it first came out. I played Destiny 1 a bit. I put some time into Destiny 1. But I didn't really get into the end game, the true grind that was Destiny 1. I almost completed a raid a couple of times with a group of buddies. We never could finish King's Fall because within the hour that we'd be playing it, they would be drinking and getting crossfaded, and by the time we'd get to the sisters encounter or the daughters encounter, they literally could not platform. So anytime the four of them would ever get taken and then have to do the platforming, they simply couldn't. They were too far gone. All they could do was shoot the gun. If they had to do anything else, it was cooked. So we always got to the daughters encounter and then never finished the raid because they just could not resist just the substances. So that was a lot of my D1 experience, was I did not do end game crazy stuff in D1. D2 I didn't play until Beyond Light, and the only reason I played was because Cameron asked me multiple times, dude, will you please play Destiny 2 with me? Please, we used to play Destiny all the time. Will you just give it a try, see if you like it? And I was sure, you know what, let's do it. And so one of my first streams that I did when I started doing streams again, was Destiny 2. For those that were here way back mid 2021, I played through at the time, the campaign of Destiny 2, which at the time was beyond light, and that's it. Because everything else had been sunset. So I started playing the game, played the first couple campaign missions that happen when you're just like a new player, and then it immediately skipped to years of story later, and I was very confused. I didn't know what to do, so I didn't really play it like a whole lot. But over time, played it a bit more, got into it, and then I started playing a lot more with like my buddies in Boot, as you guys have seen us play on day one raids, you know, Jess, Barrow, Fox, Friday, all those kind of guys. And obviously that was kind of when I really started to like grind Destiny 2. And since then, have every single day one raid since Root, especially. But I've technically attempted every day one raid since Kingsfall came back out. Granted, the attempt... Actually, we attempted VOW as well. We did attempt VOW for about 45 minutes. So, technically, we did attempt VOW day one for less than an hour. But we did try it. And then, yeah, Kingsfall we tried for a couple of hours. We made it to, like, the first encounter and made some progress there, but eventually just it fizzled out. But since Root of Nightmares, where we did actually beat that day one. It's my one day one raid clear, unfortunately. I mean, fortunately that we did clear, but obviously it was my only day one. Since then, I have grinded very, very hard for every single day one raid that has come out. And to have the performance that we did in the most recent one, Desert Perpetual, you can look at the leaderboards for that raid, and you will not see us on there. You can simply look. You can look at the whole leaderboard. You will not find it. We did not finish the raid within 24 hours. We didn't finish a single encounter. We could not beat a single encounter. Now, to be fair, for those that watched us play this, you will remember this raid was overtuned to an ungodly degree, where it was absurd. It was a level of difficulty that was ridiculous. To put it lightly, it was ridiculous. The leaderboards, yes, also are, there was a lot of cheaters that did get the clears, so some of these are not legitimate. Some of them obviously are, you know, Snazzy's team, obviously, they did great. But yeah, some of these were very much just like cheaters getting through it, so a lot of these were not actual clears. The numbers that actually legitimately cleared this were incredibly low. The raid itself, awesome. The contest experience, awful. Incredibly overtuned. Every single boss was just a huge bullet sponge to a level of optimization that just cannot be expected out of your player base. To only be able to beat it if you are the absolute top 0.1% of players for any of the encounters is just, it's absurd. No contest mode should ever be like that. If the final boss is like that, whatever. But if every single encounter is like that, it's a problem. It's going to turn people off to wanting to play the game, and that's exactly what happened to us. We pretty much all stopped playing the game for a while. A couple of us got back into it, but I did not touch the game for more than about an hour for probably 6 to 8 months. I just could not play the game. It was such an incredibly depressing time after that performance, because we grinded so hard. We grinded so hard preparing for that raid. So it was a big bummer. It was a big bummer how that went. So I just didn't touch the game for a while. We just recently started talking more about getting back into it to prepare for the next day one raid that was going to be happening relatively like this year, right? Like it was supposed to happen this year. And we really got like inspired again. We you know, this last weekend in Atlanta, we were like inspired. We're like, okay, like we were talking about, you know, what kinds of things we need to grind, what things to look at, our next steps. Like we really were starting to talk a lot more about it and getting kind of back into the mindset of like feeling good about, you know, giving a better performance. And to see the announcement was just it was like a punch to the gut multiple times. It was really sad. Yeah, this shit sucks, man. It sucks. Raid was shit from a butt. Yeah, Koala. It was, yeah, pretty shit from a butt. There has obviously been a lot of like community. I mean, you can just look up basically Destiny on any social media site, and you'll see there is a petition going around that there's a petition going around that some of the voice actors have even been coming out and supporting. People just trying to gain some sort of momentum to show that there is a market and community for a Destiny 3. It's pretty wild, man. It's pretty wild. Everyone's been sharing clips of their, you know, their favorite clips of the game. There's been a lot of nostalgia, a lot of people getting emotional. The bigger creators have made videos where, I mean, they've had a hard time not getting emotional. But yeah, I mean, there's a petition that you can sign if you want that it's got 164,000 signatures already in like a day. So there you go. You've got options if you want to try to support it at all, but you know, at the end of the day, it's just it's sad. People have been very sad, especially with some of the stuff that's been coming out. This was a big one that really hit us pretty hard. Was when we heard about Zevor Wrath is kind of this being in Destiny that has been around for a while and has been pretty wanted. Like, people have wanted something with Zevor Wrath. It's like the Hive God of War. Like, this was supposed to kind of be the character that was going to have what should be kind of the coolest, biggest battle, you know? And the fact that they pitched it multiple times and it never even got past like pitch meetings was really sad to hear. That was kind of a blow. When you look at the stuff that did get past pitch meetings and the stuff that didn't, it's just like, damn, bro, like this shit sucks. Also, Sam, good to see you, man. Hope you're doing well. Clearly, Marathon is the better IP for Bungie to run with. Yeah, so that's been also part of this, right? So Bungie has essentially committed to, hey, we're going to keep just focusing on Marathon and some of our future games, I guess, and we're going to just kind of let Destiny 2 die where it is. That did not need to happen. The update itself, I think, is worth looking into because this is where a lot of the feelings and mixed feelings come out. So in the blog post, they talk about what's going to be coming with this update. And with this update, there's going to be a lot of stuff that people have been asking for that they kind of fucked up on and are either backtracking or fixing or whatever. One of those things being the portal and the director. The portal in Destiny 2 sucks ass. It sucked ass since it came out. Nobody liked it. I mean, I'm sure there were some people that liked it, but like the overwhelming majority of people could not stand the portal. It promoted grinding the same activity over and over and over and over again. It was just not what people wanted. It gave people choice paralysis. It didn't make it clear what like power level and difficulty you were going to be running into. It just took what everybody knew about Destiny 2 and said, here's this space where you now find everything you're supposed to do. Figure it out. And it was overcomplicated, it was messy, and it just didn't have the impact that they thought it was going to have. You combine the portal with an expansion of Edge of Fate that just wasn't good, and you get the stark drop-off in player base that Destiny 2 got, to the point where it was averaging maybe 10k players a day, which for a game like Destiny that was averaging for almost a decade about 30 to 50k on even just like drought times, that says a lot about what happened after Edge of Fate. So they were like, hey, we're gonna make the director the big thing. We're gonna get rid of the portal. It's gonna still be there in some capacity, but it's not gonna be your main landing screen. It's not going to, you're going to be able to go back to a director like you're used to and find things like you're used to. Great. Awesome. Glad that this is coming back. Pantheon 2.0 was a huge thing that we were all looking towards, especially when you look at some of this art, because you're like, hold on a second. We don't know exactly what all is coming in this, but they wouldn't be showing some of these guys that aren't in current raids for nothing, right? So it's something to consider. But Pantheon 2.0 was what we were all looking forward to as a sort of stepping stone towards preparing for the next day one raid. Pantheon, last time it came out, was awesome. It was one of the best things Destiny's ever done. People loved it. They loved grinding for high scores. They loved grinding the loot. They just loved it. We all loved the activity. Like, it was just awesome having like an activity where you had multiple raid encounters from all sorts of different raids in one activity is sick. It's awesome. And each week it got harder and harder until the last week of it was contest level difficulty, which was awesome for people like us that had never even once gotten to play most of those raids on contest. So getting to play encounters like Riven from Last Wish on contest difficulty was sick. It was actually sick. So this Pantheon 2.0 is sick. We were all looking forward to this, and we are still looking forward to it. We're still going to play it, but how it's being delivered is a little bit different this time, given the situation. June 9th, when the update comes out, you'll get the first slate of bosses. It's going to be cool times, and then on the 13th is when the whole big shebang is going to come out, which I'm assuming will be possible at contest difficulty. I'm assuming there's going to be contest difficulty. There's going to be some sort of kind of, pseudo raid race in a way for it, to see who can like beat it first, right? Which should be good. It should be a fun time. So, but yeah, this art is from like the Leviathan raid, the stuff that was vaulted. This was from stuff that wasn't available for the last 6 years almost. So this was very exciting to see stuff like this, because we're like, if there's any world where we get stuff that was vaulted in this Pantheon, like this would bring back so many people. Oh my god. This was also a huge thing that we did know was going to happen, but all the raid and dungeon loot is finally getting brought up to like standard with everything else in the game. So you're getting like the tiers. It's no longer useless to grind end game content, which is awesome. So it's pretty cool. I agree. Thanks, Bisu. I know you're a big Destiny person, so I'm sure you're like, yes, I agree. What was their justification for vaulting the old content? The justification, from what I understand and remember, was because again, I didn't start playing D2 until after, so I had to sort of hear about all of this and experience all of it after it happened. But from what I understand, they were trying to both narratively and like game engine wise kind of do a reset. They needed to make space in the game so that way the game could like continue to run well, and narratively it was supposed to be this big sort of like plot point that the pyramid ships were like arriving, and that was going to completely shift the story and everything. And there was a bunch of planets that like got taken over by these pyramid ships, and thus subsequently that sort of sunset those planets, right? There was a lot to it. But yeah, there was never a justification for vaulting a game that people paid for, that people were going to be happy with, myself included. When I started playing and I got propelled forward multiple years of story and was so confused because I'm like, what the fuck is happening? Like, how did I go from this to this in one mission? Like, what is going on? I had to look up like a lot of videos and a lot of like explanations on what was the story before I started playing. And the story before I started playing was a whole ass game and like 3 expansions. And I'm like, dude, this is ridiculous. Like, what are we doing? So, yeah. They vaulted pretty much the entire original like base game, Curse of Osiris, pretty much Warmind, everything that came out before Forsaken, they just like vaulted, including weaponry. It was not great. So yeah, when are they gonna release a nude mod? I could do that right now, actually, if Mike was maybe a couple more drinks in. You know what I'm saying? I got a nude mod right there for you. Come on, AC. There we go. Yeah, the vaulting was obviously a huge issue and continued to be an issue for the rest of its lifespan. But thankfully, at least the stuff they were putting out was pretty good up until Edge of Fate stuff. But yeah, this was something that people were asking for ever since they did the big change, because the big armor and weapon like tier change pretty much made all of our loot that we had been grinding for many, many years basically useless. Like, because all of it just defaulted to like tier 2, which is ass. So we kind of got hosed there. We kind of got hosed, and it wasn't great, and it was very sad, and it was a big, big part of why I stopped playing. That change alone killed a huge part of my interest in the game. So this change, finally, they're making it so that way the end game content that people actually want to grind has stuff worth getting that is brought up to speed. Again, a change that should have not taken this long, that did take this long, and has thus contributed to where we're at currently. But again, it's coming in an update, and again, is something that would at least bring a few people back. Same thing with destination weapons and armor. Like when you go to like different planets and stuff, the stuff you find there isn't useless anymore. Great. They were adding new aspects, melees, grenades, abilities. Like they were adding more stuff for the classes. Again, that's always stuff that makes people want to come back and try the new shiny stuff. And some of it sounds sick too. Like stasis shatter grenade, strand slice bar grenade. This sounds sick. Like some of this is actually dope. This was also huge. This was another thing that they wanted. All exotic armors earned since the Edge of Fate launched will be automatically upgraded to have tier 5 stats. We, for the longest time, have been using exotic armor, which is supposed to be, you know, the best armor, right? Like, it's the highest tier. It was all defaulting to, like, 62 stat total, which, if you don't understand what that means, is basically the level of, like, a tier 2 piece of armor. So it was actively holding back people's builds because it wasn't brought up to parity with everything else. So this is changing. Awesome. Cool. They teased some other cool stuff with throwing multiple Nova Bombs and stuff. Great. Awesome. And then they talked about this. The portal overhaul. This is a big one. All portal activities are still available to players via the portal nodes at the bottom of the director. We've taken a deep pass on the portal's difficulty system to ensure players can approach the ops category and have fun with Destiny 2 while still being rewarded. We want to remove choice paralysis. Players should be able to sign in and find the fun quickly, rather than being mired in stacking as many difficulty modifiers as possible to earn desirable rewards. This, you would think, the higher-ups at Bungie would have thought about this before fucking over the player base with the portal. You'd think the higher-ups would go, maybe in an MMO environment, we shouldn't completely change how people have fun and experience our game. Because like every other MMO, people like familiarity. You know why people still play RuneScape to this day? Because you can go back to it, and it's always going to be what you remember every time. Because they don't just get rid of half the game. They don't change every single thing about the game every 3 months. That's why people love going back to old school RuneScape. There's nostalgia. There's stuff like that that you can go back to. You like familiarity. There's new stuff sprinkled on top, but it's never take away everything you know and love and only play the new stuff. That's what the portal did. And the portal sucked ass because of it. So this should not have taken this long. And if it's not clear already, a lot of what's coming in this update, you can tell, was devs being like, hey, here's player feedback, here's what they want. Higher-ups being like, we need to push these brand new shiny ideas, they're surely going to love it. And the devs having to just go along with it and being like, okay. And they're just making this shit, and they're seeing all the backlash, and they're like, so do you still want us to do this? And they're like, yep, let's double down on it. And now they're shutting down the updates going forward. Like, the devs showed that they could always make good shit, but the leadership over there at Bungie lost their way a while back and started prioritizing just only the profits, and it's really sad. But this alone would have gotten me to play the game again. even without all of the other stuff, just fixing the experience of logging into the game and figuring out what you want to play and making that back to something that's familiar, that alone would make me want to play the game again. Not a ton, but it would at least get me back on the game. We're expanding our weapon offerings within Portal activities. Each experience will offer a different pool to earn. This is awesome. This is good. We're also updating armors across the portal with new art and new set bonuses. This is fine, while adding an exclusive armor to competitive Crucible. Again, exclusive stuff for competitive, giving the competitive players that the small community that does grind competitive Crucible, give them a reason to, right? Onslaught and Crawls have received balance passes on difficulty and length. All 3 activities will once again feature escalating difficulty over time. The fact that that wasn't still there, like they literally launched that way, I don't know why that was changed. Rather than starting at the highest difficulty from the start, that was like the whole point, was you could bring people in and you could get a certain amount of the way through it based on kind of their level and understanding of the game. It was nice for introducing lower level people to content that progressively gets harder, right? It was good practice in that way. Onslaught has been rebalanced to remove revive tokens and get you more scrap more often to bring back the feeling of building up defenses over time, as it should have always been. Again, a change that just didn't need to happen, that did happen, and then they were like, oops, yeah, let's fix that. Player feedback moment. A few weapons will also be making a return, only available through Onslaught. Again, give activity-specific rewards, and people will want to play those activities. Crucible stuff, not a whole crazy lot. It's mostly just saying that there will still continue to be some stuff that, you know, there's going to be stuff to do with Crucible. There's a new kind of what seems to sound like maybe a Halo-y feeling playlist, which is kind of cool. And they added a like Destiny 1 kind of feeling, like private match option. They added like some cool stuff that people can have some fun with going forward. There's still going to be Iron Banner. There's still going to be Trials. Gambit even got mentioned, which was insane. Like Gambit got finally their gear fixed to actually be useful. Like, it's pretty wild how much is actually coming with this update that would make people actually care. Obviously, seasonal events, as we all expected from this update, are going to be retired, given that there's not going to be any more updates going forward. So all of your, your Halloween events, your Christmas events, your Olympics, yearly Olympics events, those are all obviously going away. But the, rewards will still be available for those that, want to be able to find them at least. They talked about their microtransaction stuff. Silver and Bright Dust. Bright Dust will continue to be an earnable currency through gameplay objectives, and so Bright Dust is still staying. Silver will continue to be there as well for people that still want to buy the stuff that has always been available. Bright Dust rotation has changed from weekly to daily. This is a good change, so that way each day you're getting a rotation of stuff to get for people that really want to kind of finish out their collection. And this is a big one for people that really care about cosmetics. The Bright Ingrams that unlock either Bright Dust or cosmetics or emotes, those sorts of things, you can now focus. So that way you can get specific things rather than just random RNG every single time. Lovely. This Rewards Pass, the Monument of Triumph update brings an updated Rewards Pass, which was originally planned for Shadow and Order, which was the name of the next DLC that was originally going to be here, featuring a new exotic hand cannon, armor ornaments, and more. The hand cannon is expected to, I guess the picture's not on here. It's I believe it's called the First Curse or something like that. It's a D1 hand cannon that's, I think, getting repurposed into D2. We've increased the number of cosmetic rewards on the pass as well, including multiple armor ornament sets, ghost shaders, and more. So again, a lot of stuff for people that like the cosmetics, those sorts of things, armor ornaments, yada yada. And another big thing that people have been asking for a very long time. Starting June 9th, players may apply common, uncommon, rare, legendary armor ornaments to their exotic armors, which is only visible in PvE. This is something that I think has been asked for since like the dawn of time. The big thing with wearing certain exotic pieces of armor is that you could not change like how they looked to like make them work like for like a certain fashion build, right? So for example, me as a warlock, we have an exotic armor piece called the Starfire Protocol. And Starfire Protocol, I think, looks cool, but most people are like, this thing does not work in any fashionable sense with anything ever in the game. And so people were like, please, for the love of God, can we just do what we do with every other piece of armor and be able to make it look how we want it to look and have it like just like every other MMO out there, basically. Change how your armor looks, but have it still be that armor in stats and you know, how it functions, right? So that way you can style it the way you want. It's like if you ever watched me play Final Fantasy 14, Final Fantasy 14 has a great system for this where you can set up like 20 different things that you can just instantly, you know, make your fashion the way you want it to be, no matter what armor you're wearing. So this is great. This is great for the drip that people love. Destiny 2 The Collection, we are bundling all Destiny 2 content packs into a singular purchase available on June 9th. This includes campaigns, dungeon keys, the 30th anniversary pack, and more. Individual content packs and expansions will also receive permanent markdowns in June. Previous expansions, I think, should have already had these, but they did go on sale at least often enough to where it wasn't awful to get your hands on them. They did go on sale quite a bit, but again, things that get people to want to play and try your game. What a concept. And Sparrow Racing League returns, something that we have not had since, I believe, D1. I don't think D2 ever had Sparrow Racing. We finally are getting Sparrow Racing back from D1, a very beloved game mode where you can just dick around, drive your Sparrow, race people like it's Mario Kart and Destiny. Like, this is an incredible thing to add after all these years. We finally are getting this. Which makes you think that maybe this was going to have much more hype around its release before all this news came out. So true, Mr. So true. So true. I bet they don't build seasonal activities and then dump them instead of iterating and building on it. Yeah, that was also an issue with Destiny 2 over the years, was the fact that a lot of the story beats over the years weren't available, like, in-game. Like, if you just didn't play during the season, then the story beats that would happen during the season, you just couldn't go back and play and experience, which was really sad. Once that year was over, all of that seasonal story was not available anymore, and you just had to look up videos of it. Not a good system. It's not a good system that keeps people wanting to come back. It just creates a lot of FOMO. So, don't talk to me until you have a 4-strength, 4-stam leather belt. My leather belt is definitely not 4-strength, 4-stam these days. But it used to be when I bought it. These days it's a bit beaten up. And then they just gave us a thank you. Destiny 2 has been our home for many, many years. The unknown can sometimes feel wild, even a bit scary at times, but these opportunities to explore the future are invigorating. As we look ahead, our commitment remains the same, to make games we and you are excited to play. From all of us here at Bungie, we cannot thank you enough for joining us on this journey throughout the Soul System. You'll still find us Starside for years to come. So, if you couldn't tell, I am upset at how this went down, because this update is genuinely great. This is a great update. It has so many things that people have been asking for time and time and time again, and we're finally getting it at the same time as them saying, but we need to shut down any further updates going forward. That shouldn't be the case. That shouldn't have to be the case. These things, the most frustrating part of this is how many of the issues the game had that are being addressed and fixed were avoidable. They were never necessary. They were easily avoidable. But leadership at Bungie decided that it was all about profits. Like many games that go, free to play, that do, live service updates, at certain point, they just decide it's time to maximize profits. Fuck the player base. Let's just milk this thing for what we can. And it really did feel like Edge of Fate and everything since then has just been that. The Star Wars update we got was actually dope. It was cool, but you could tell that, I mean, it's a collab update. Like, a collab update shouldn't be your big, like, hurrah, like, here's our big update. It's like, it's a Star Wars collab update. It just shouldn't be, it just shouldn't just be that, you know? Correct. It's not just Bungie as well. It's when I talk about leadership, I'm speaking about more than just leadership at Bungie. Obviously, Sony had a massive role to play in this as well. That should not be minimized. Leadership in general, I should say, for the Destiny franchise lost their way, and it's really sad. It's just very sad. It did not need to get to this point. My running theory personally is that Sony spent so much to get Bungie acquired, and then they got impatient with getting, you know, ROI, and were just like, maximize profit. Just do these things, maximize profit, fuck the player base, and then here we are. That's my running theory. Because before the Sony acquisition, Bungie was on a fucking roll with Destiny 2, dude. Like, obviously, Lightfall was not the greatest thing ever. I believe that was the first DLC that came out after the Sony acquisition. If I remember correctly, it was Sony acquired them, and then Lightfall was the first true, like, DLC after that. And consequently, it was not great. And there's a lot of stuff, I guess. The stuff isn't a good word for it, but there have been people that have, obviously they don't want to get sued for NDA stuff, whatever, but the original version of what Lightfall was supposed to be was always rumored to have been vastly different from what we got. And people have been coming out and kind of vaguely referring to, you know, that where they can. It's just a bummer, you know? It's just a bummer how much of this was avoidable if things didn't go down this path, you know? It sucks. It really sucks. I, for one, blame the janitorial staff for not taking out the trash. That's just crazy. I'll tell you, the comms and action from the Marathon team have been phenomenal. That's good. Yeah, unfortunately for Marathon and, you know, the community there is obviously some pretty big friction, given that, you know, that's essentially the child that was chosen over Destiny 2, right? So there's been a lot of tension because people that just like Marathon are like, I'm going to keep playing Marathon because I like playing Marathon. But there's also people that are like, hey, why are you so upset? Just come play Marathon. There's still, if you want that good old Bungie shooter feeling, just come play Marathon. And what a lot of those people are failing to recognize is that Marathon is not at all the same game as Destiny. It does not give you the same experience. You do not have the same exact feel. It is completely different games. So where you have these people speaking out on like social media and giving people shit, they're like, why are you so, you know, upset about it? Just come play Marathon, are missing the point. And maybe it's just to rage bait. Maybe they're just actually that dense, but an extraction shooter is just not at all the same. So do you like Destiny? I mean, I can't speak for everybody here in this chat. I can't speak for everybody out there, but I love Destiny. Destiny is where I've met, I mean, literally all of the Barrow, Mike, and Jess. Mike and Jess I didn't meet through Destiny, but we gamed a ton through Destiny. Barrow I met through Destiny. I just went and saw all these guys in person a week ago for like the third time, you know? Like, Destiny is where I have forged some of like my favorite gaming experiences of all time. I mean, it was one of the few games that Cameron and I were able to like play together consistently throughout like my like, you know, early adulthood years where, you know, our time available to game was like hit or miss. I was doing college stuff. He was, you know, he had become a father, you know, those sorts of things. Like, we were able to like play D1 and find times to play. And when he got a PlayStation instead of an Xbox, like, it was one of the few games that had that cross-platform ability to just like play with your buddies on other platforms. And Destiny 2 was a vessel for Cameron and I to actually play a game again together that wasn't Madden. Like, it was something where we got to, like, reconnect with gaming after quite a few years of hardly getting to play much of anything together. We were on different systems, different time schedules, you know, a lot of different stuff was affecting that. So Destiny 2 was where we really got to have those experiences again. You know, it's wild to think that, like, you know, all the guys in Boot, all the guys in our Destiny clan, I likely never would have met them if it wasn't for Cameron getting me on Destiny 2 again. You know, I don't think I ever would have ended up playing the game, or probably would have waited way too long to play it. You know, I met a lot of really, really cool people through playing Destiny. And so it's just sad. It's sad that it has come to this, because it was so avoidable, man. It was so avoidable. Brassydoots, unfortunately, it's not because of Sony, it's because of Microsoft. Bungie has become so corporation-like that they literally got rid of their best motto: we make games we want to play. This all started when Microsoft acquired Bungie and put their staff in Bungie's leadership, eventually coming to all of the bad that has happened in the past 2 years. Bungie is no longer that studio and hasn't been since 2010, when after Reach's launch, they refused to talk with the community on multiplayer. Their mindset after Reach was: we fulfilled our contract, we will ignore the pro scene and not listen to the players bitch about Bloom and other things. They're not community-focused anymore. There is some truth to that, but most of that is in regards to how Halo was affected, not necessarily Destiny. Destiny has gone through many staff changes and it's not the same studio that made Reach and then split off. There are some people, yes, that did stay with Bungie throughout the whole thing, but it's not the same team a decade later, more than a decade later, 16 years later. Bungie at that time did not want to make more Halo games. They were dead set on moving over to Destiny, making Destiny. They were pretty much dead set on that when they were making ODST. That's why they teased an ODST, you know. Reach was essentially their testing grounds for, here's some weapon archetypes, right? The DMR, it gives you an opportunity to test the scout rifle. The AR gives you opportunity to test some weapon archetype feeling for, you know, auto rifles, right? Like, there's a lot of stuff that was correlated between Reach and the experience that Reach gives you, armor abilities, those sorts of things, and what you ended up getting in Destiny. That Bungie was not the same Bungie that we had, you know, throughout all of Destiny 2, especially. For Destiny 1, yeah, I'd say it was probably a lot of that, but there were a lot of people from Bungie that stayed to work at 343 as well, so it's definitely not, there's some truth there, but not entirely. I love D2, played it on release on PlayStation, came back in COVID. I didn't know Brassy was a streamer, but met him by playing D2. I have 3,000 actual play hours, 20 total hours, with some just vibing in menus. Yeah, I met a lot of really cool people through playing this game. And obviously the game isn't shutting down, right? The game is still going to be playable, but a lot of my... Also, sorry for ads. Ads are... Ads incoming. Sorry for ads. Yeah, a lot of my motivation for playing Destiny and continuing to play Destiny was always to make more memories with new content and new weapons and new story beats and obviously a new raid. The new raids and dungeons were always the things that really pulled me back in, and to know that we're not getting any more of those is a very big bummer, because no other game gives you the experience that Destiny does. It is the raid experience, especially, is very much one of a kind. There are games that try, but you watch somebody play like a Final Fantasy XIV raid and watch somebody do a Destiny raid, and it is night and day. They are completely different experiences. So to not have that as a something to look forward to anymore, it stings. It definitely stings. So there you go. For those that were asking me yesterday about my thoughts on the update and the news with Destiny, that's my much more elaborate opinion and my feelings on what is happening with Destiny. the anger is very much not towards the devs themselves. The devs put out bangers, but they weren't the ones that got to choose what to make. You know, at the end of the day, leadership, both the Bungie and Sony, are in charge of what happens, what's made, and the developers have to just they gotta make what they gotta make, right? So yeah. That's pretty much all I have to say, guys. That's pretty much all I have to say. A part of me hopes that someday we will have another Destiny game. We will have, you know, hopefully one day Destiny will be able to make some sort of comeback. But the fact that there are no current plans or anything in development, there have been multiple reports that there is nothing Destiny related currently in development or even in pre-development. The fact that the franchise is, at least for the next considerable amount of time, just kind of dead sucks. It sucks big time. I did see a tweet though. Somebody mentioned how the entirety of Destiny 1 and 2 all took place between GTA 5 launching and GTA 6 coming out, which is kind of funny to think about. Because you're like, damn, bro, like GTA 5 is still wildly popular to this day. It is still an incredibly big game. And that shit came out on the Xbox 360. That came out in 2013. 2013. But at the very least, Root of Nightmares, baby. Root of Nightmares, world first leaderboard on normal. You know who did clear that shit? Brassy fucking Doots, man. What a squad. Sorry, see, yes. Sorry, not to say ass in the middle of that. We were number 40,802, baby. Where did the rest of the boys finish? Because they finished before us, obviously. Which one is Jess here? Magikarp. Time lost. Yeah, the rest of Boot finished that one top 10, top 9,000 actually. Look at that. What a squad. I still don't understand how Jason Jones sees all that has happened and says nothing. I mean, bro probably lost the spark, man. I don't know what to tell you. Probably just lost the spark. We went around the moon before GTA 6. There's a lot of things we did before GTA 6. We might get World War III before GTA 6. Who knows? The boys placed top 2,200, man. Look at that. What a crew. What a crew. Mike had to step in to finish the clear. F that weekend? Yeah, fuck that weekend, bro. Oh, man. That goddamn bridge haunts me to this day. Shout out Penguin, though, dude. Penguin locked in. This was the one that always stung the most. One team cleared within the day one period. It's crazy to even think about, like, when I started playing, like, the first day one that happened after I started playing, I think, was Vault of Glass. This was the one where Barrow crashed out on Jess because Jess couldn't count to 6. Yeah, 2370. This was the one that we attempted for about 45 minutes. Good times. Very good times. There's the boys. Impressive showings, man. Impressive showings out of the boys. It's crazy that once I joined, we never cleared again. I think that was the problem. I'm going to internalize that for the rest of my life, I think. Yeah, you guys killed it on Vow. You guys killed it on Vow, that's for sure. I mean, Deepstone, I guess, was still pretty good. 43-12. It's not too bad. You did clear, which I guess is the important part. You did clear. The fact that I never got to get a world's first clear. Well, not world's first, obviously, but a day one clear with the Boot guys. It just stings, man. Stings.